We are here. We are here. We're going to talk about a few things tonight. We're going to talk about a few things tonight. We're going to talk about a few things tonight. We're going to start off on world news. I'm telling you right now, we're going to start off on the world news, and then we're going to circle back to T.I. and 50 Cent. I'm going to let everybody get in here and talk about that. T.I. and 50 Cent. That's what we're going to talk about last. Because I'm probably going to spend most of my time talking about that. But immediate news right before I went live, Israel struck Tehran with a preemptive strike in Iran. So Israel took a strike on Tehran, so it looks like the United States might be next. And a war in Iran isn't, I don't think that's a smart idea, but I ain't the one running the country, so I'm still voting for the couch. I don't, that's not my deal. Salute to the people of Iran. Salute to them. But I'm also a United States citizen. Hey, you know what I mean? Country first. It's unfortunate they're going through, but it was 89 degrees in LA today in the wintertime. I'm sitting on my steps right now in basketball shorts and a t-shirt because it's still like 68, 70 degrees right now. So, What's up, Aaron? What's up, everybody up in here? What's up, Kendall? Yeah, Kendall's popping up. But what did tomorrow on Patreon? We're doing some reading on Patreon. This is a 10 of Hearts here, and I know I haven't been doing as many readings this year on YouTube, and I apologize to y'all. Y'all been asking me. One of my friends asked me, she was like, "You ain't been doing no reading." I'm like, "You're right." Kind of because I told y'all what was coming. I told y'all this is a year of physical hand-to-hand combat confrontation. That's what this 10 of Hearts is about. Physical confrontation. Mexico. I'm going to tell you this real story quick about Mexico. One of my homeboys was in one of my boys. He's a listener on this show. Sometimes he's in the chat. He called me yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, I had some family that was in Mexico last week, and he has he has like a half brother that's Mexican, that's half Mexican, people have half brothers and shit. His half brothers, like their parent is Mexican, the other half, and they were in Mexico, and he said that they were in the zoo last week, and in the zoo, they had to sleep and spend the night in the zoo last week in Mexico because the cartels had blew up buses in the intersections, and so the cars couldn't get through a lot of primary intersections. They basically shut the city down, and his people had to spend the night in the zoo. So you see what's going on in Mexico. You see what's going on in Iran. So I pray for the people of Iran. I don't want to see nobody. I don't like seeing people die and nothing like that. But I don't like a lot of things the United States do. But I ain't moving. So that's that. And then we have what's going on in I want to talk a little bit about Epstein and the Bohemian Grove. They don't connect. We're going to talk about Bohemian Grove first and then Epstein. They don't connect, although I'm sure they loosely do connect, if you know what I mean. There's not a direct connection, but I'm sure there is a loose connection. For those of you who don't know, the Bohemian Grove is a spot, and I've actually been down in that area in Guerneville, California. I went once about right before the pandemic, the year before the pandemic. No, I'm saying it back. The year after the pandemic, because I was looking for somewhere to go for cheap. Y'all remember, when the pandemic hit, it was a whole bunch of shit for cheap. I went up there for something else, and I looked up. I was like, damn, the Bohemian Grove is like 3 miles from where I was staring in the Russian River, wine country. Y'all know me and my wife, we love them wine countries, And yeah, Bohemian Grove is something that Alex Jones has talked about. That kind of got Alex Jones placed on the map, the Bohemian Grove thing. That sort of got him placed on the map. But he had been on the map, I'll take it back. But when he put that video out, that really got Alex Jones's YouTube thing going on over a decade ago. And that's where once a year you got all these weirdos and stuff in Hollywood and politics, and they go to some ceremony deep in the forest where they have all kind of ritualistic stuff that when they talk about Luciferians running the world and devil worshippers, well, it's some YouTube video up right now that you can go and find of them down at the Bohemian Grove doing all kind of weird stuff. And there was a list of the 2023 attendees that was released. Luigi said he drove past 3 days ago. That's crazy. Are you in Guerneville? Yeah. What's up, Alma Dixon? And so they had the list. The New York Post released the list of the attendees from the 2023 event, and the attendees included like past attendees included like Nancy Pelosi and her gay ass husband Paul Pelosi. You know, the one that got big, that dude broke into the house and beat him down. Paul Pelosi. Conan O'Brien was on the list. There were a lot of people on that list, and of course, all the names I saw were white. White men, women. It's a whole. And from what I've heard about that, the videos I've heard on Steve Coakley, I'm gonna say I think I have some Steve Coakley videos on that in my archives. I'm gonna go look up my Steve Coakley videos in my archives, and if I can find one of those he has on the Bohemian Grove, I'm gonna put that up on my Patreon. On my Patreon, I got like a few Steve Coakley videos up there already. If I can find some more that he has on the Bohemian Grove specifically, I will put those up on my Patreon probably sometime this weekend or next week. And when you listen to Steve Coakley talk about it, we got the same birthday, June 17th. Anyway, Steve Coakley talks about how the people that run society, the demonic degenerates, the Epstein Islanders, these type people that run the society, they know when they do that Bohemian Grove thing, that's them basically having a spiritual initiation about maybe getting like another year, maybe getting another year of mercy. And they have a ritual for that year of mercy or whatever, according to people like Steve Coakley. So it's very interesting. I'm not going to get too deep into it because there's nothing that I've gotten way deep in, but it's always interested me sort of from a surface level. So I'm not about to sit here. I ain't no Alex Jones shit. It's people, it's YouTube channels out there that go way deeper than me on that stuff. We'll get to the TI topic in about 10 minutes, y'all. So y'all waiting for the TI topic, wait about 10 minutes. I want to get over to other stuff, go through these other topics first before we get to TI. But I encourage y'all to go look that up. It's very, very, very interesting. And I remember I was in Greenville and I was at a nice boutique hotel, little 4.5 star spot up there. It was cool, had a suite and everything. That was after the pandemic, so shit was cheap to the motherfucker. And I remember being out there in that forest, and going through and looking at the trees and stuff, and just I remember having a weird feeling. It was weird, and I love nature. I love nature. I very rarely feel weird around nature. I felt weird that trip. You know? So yeah. Why are all these lies being exposed now? Because it's time for these lies to be exposed. Nothing lasts forever. You cannot fool everybody all the time. You can fool some of the people all the time. You can fool all the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all of the time. If you've been following the channel recently, the last few years, you saw a couple years ago, 7 of Hearts. That's when the exposure started. 8 of Hearts, 7, 8, 9 of Hearts years were exposed years. This 10 of Hearts here is action, exposure and action. That's why you have so many fights and wars going on this year. It's a settlement of the exposure. The calendar of life says so. The calendar of life says so. And that's beyond all of our controls. That's why the exposure is happening. So when it gets to the Epstein thing, you see the Epstein list, you're starting to see a fallout happening right now. Heads are starting to roll with Epstein ever so slowly. And I think this war in Iran that Israel's trying to start, it's for their reasons, but, talking, taking attention away from this Epstein thing is paramount. You see they had the UFO files a couple weeks ago that got released. If you look at a lot of those logs on the Epstein list, it's a lot of Steins, Steins, Hertz, Herkowitzes, Bergs as last names. Similar to the Dawes Rose, similar to Hollywood. Like, it's a whole lot of Steins, if you dig what I'm saying, on that list. And I don't get specific when it comes to that, because if you don't understand that game, I ain't gonna be the one to teach it to you. Yeah, that devil worship stuff is real. Go Gadget. Look at Salt from Salt and Pepper had a video that she put out talking about that like a couple days ago. Hell yeah, they worship. Man, please. Yes, the spiritual shit runs this world. High vibration, low vibration. The only people getting caught in the middle are those who think spirituality doesn't exist, or those who think spirituality is their church or mosque. Those who, in no disrespect to anybody, I'll never disrespect nobody's religion. Don't want to do that. But if you're stuck up in Jesus, or if you're stuck in Muslim, what's his name, Muhammad, or in these deities that they give us, those are spiritual concepts, but they're very on the low end of spirituality. The higher end of spirituality, it goes a little bit deeper than that. And those who run society understand the deeper spiritual principles. And the spiritual principles are the spiritual principles. Remember that. Whether you use them positively or negatively, the principles are the principles. And the principles don't give a fuck which way you use them. Just use them. So yeah, people who got the spiritual principles who use them for a high vibration or on a high level. You got people who use these spiritual principles on the low level. It's all the same. They get humans caught up in good and bad because they've dumbed us down as a population. Really, they've done a great job dumbing us down as a human population of all races. You'll look right at a battery and you'll see the positive charge and the negative charge be equal. But then you'll go into a church and they'll tell you, well, the negative is bad and the positive is good. No, they're just possibilities. They just are. Positive, negative just is. Male, female. Go look at a plug in a socket, male, female. It's cards. The red is positive, the negative is the black is negative on the pips. It's all the same. You know, you don't have to go back to an ancient book, Jarrell. You just gotta just look around you. Just everything. You don't have to go back to ancient books. Just pay attention to the world that you're in. If you want electricity, you need a positive and a negative charge. If you want to plug your USB cable into your phone, you need a feminine. The phone has the feminine, and the plug is the masculine. Holes and poles. If you a pole is no good without a hole. A hole is no good without a pole. It all works together. Try powering your car with negative and just two negatives or two positives. Like a magnet, yeah. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. You don't have to always go back to the ancient, even though this is all in the ancient text. I think the ancient text sometimes is over talked about. You know what I mean? All we gotta do is look around. Everything requires a positive and a negative. Look at the news and look at 50 Cent. All his negative publicity gets him positive results in his cell. It just is. And we'll get to 50 and T.I. in a second. We'll get there. Yeah, evil exists, but it's necessary. Exactly. Evil is necessary. How do you know good if you don't see evil? They're just polarities. You could be a positive person, but positive people can oftentimes get fucked. You could be the most negative. You ever know some of the most negative ninnies? But they'll use that negativity and they'll ascend to areas. You'd be like, God damn, how they get there? They just are. Everything just is. We have choices. Appreciate that. We next. We all have choices. And that goes to the Epstein thing now. Pay attention to what's going on with Epstein. Pay attention. You see Prince Andrew's gone down. There's been a couple people in the UK that have gone down. You see, it's brought Hillary and Bill to testify. When last time you seen former president and presidential candidates testifying over a dead man? If y'all don't think this Epstein shit is doing something, let me know if you've ever in your lifetime or in your study of history seen a United States president have to testify over a dead man. Let's pay attention. Let's pay attention. You see that? You also see what's going on with Epstein. You have Bill Gates. Y'all see Bill Gates' stupid ass? First, Bill Gates didn't know Epstein. Then he's seen Epstein around. Now we finding out that Bill Gates admitted to getting prostitutes from Epstein and apologized to his staff over the Epstein thing. He said he only got 2 prostitutes. Bitch, please. So you put your hands in a cookie jar that only came out with 2. And Bill Gates gave his wife, allegedly, according to him, according to reports, a STD from them hoes. They said Bill Gates said that he was giving his wife amoxicillin, trying to sneak amoxicillin in her drink because he was giving her the woompty wham boomty bams. Woompty whams. And you know Bill Gates come from old money. That Bill Gates ain't shit. Yeah, passing along STDs, allegedly, and to your wife over hookers. So why would he admit to even the richest, the at one time quote unquote richest man in the world admitting to being part of that? What kind of can of worms did he just open up? We next. I appreciate the super chat. It said, "What's up, DSB? Be supporting from this account for sure. Appreciate it." His gaming account still being used, but yeah, it makes you think, what was he doing in Africa? Think about it. Think about how much disease Bill Gates has spread throughout his lifetime. If you ever had a goddamn Dell or Gateway computer back in the day, nigga, your computer was full of viruses. Think about that. This motherfucker's in Monsanto. This motherfucker was behind the coronavirus vaccines. This motherfucker's computers kept viruses. That Bill Gates looked like a virus. Look at his face. Bill Gates looks, I'd imagine if a virus had an asshole, it would look like Bill Gates. Bill Gates don't even look like the face of the virus. He looks like the asshole of the virus. Think about him, and people trust him. See, even in the 90s, I knew to have a Mac. I've been on Mac my whole life. See, for those of you who are like 30 and 35, you niggas too young, y'all don't know. If you're 35 and younger, y'all don't know. But those of us who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, those of us who had Apple computers and Macs, we were the different ones. We were the outcasts. Everybody was on, when Windows 95 hit, they had that commercial, start me up and start me up, I never stop. Nigga, that commercial hit, Windows 95, nigga, everybody had an MS-DOS. Before that, everybody was running MS-DOS. And then you had those of us running a Macintosh before the iPhone, before the iMac. But we didn't get no fucking viruses. Yeah, you see you had a Compact? Yeah, back then you had Compact, you had Dell, Gateway. IBM was a big fish in the 90s. But I mean the 80s, but by the time the 90s came, you know, you had them other computers, and those of us who were on Macs, we were outcasts. I used to be on Yahoo Chat. Yahoo Chat, they had Cheetah Chat where you can have all these different colors and stuff. Those of us who on Mac, we had base level programs. If you were on a Mac back then, you couldn't go the websites. You couldn't access half the websites that have video. Shit, I remember I'm 16 years old. I'm getting my computers. I got on the internet when I was 16, 17. So you know the first thing I was looking for was the goddamn porn at that age. But you couldn't get it like that on the Mac. You can get pictures, but you couldn't get video. You had to get an IBM or a Dell or some shit like that. You had to get the porno videos in like 1998. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. You couldn't get that on the Mac. I'm like, damn. There wasn't no video, just pictures for us. And them hoes will come slow as hell to that 56K modem. You hear all that shit, then you finally find a picture you want, and that shit coming down slow as hell. You see her forehead, then 5 minutes later, you might catch a nipple 5 minutes into downloading that picture. But it was still better than a fucking Bill Gates. Because the Bill Gates computer was gonna have a virus. The Mac didn't get viruses. I knew because my last 2 years of college, I graduated in 2005. So 2003, 2004, 2005, most college programs during that time were not compatible with Mac. So I couldn't take my Mac to school. I had to get a Dell. God, I had to get a Dell, and I had to get Microsoft. Oh my God. At least I can see some porn for the first time. But I had to get a Dell but I remember getting all them goddamn viruses because of Bill Gates. That motherfucker showed us. How in the hell do you have these Mac computers out here that don't get no viruses? And then these Bill Gates software programs that are full of viruses. And then he went into Monsanto, and then he went into vaccines in Africa, and then he turned around and passed his wife the scramblies. And now we're seeing that come full circle. People are saying that Bill Gates he's been full of chlamydia the whole time. Yeah, he went from the computer virus to the human virus. And the Epstein thing is what's bringing all that out. Pay attention. See, when things happen, when shit gets shut down, when all that stuff, a lot of times people be expecting it to look a certain way. You don't know how this stuff is going to look when it happens. It's happening right in front of us now. Just pay attention. The revolution will not be televised. Remember, in the Revolutionary War, less than 10% of Americans fought in that war. Other 90% of Americans during the Revolution, no, they ain't not even 10%. It was like less than like 5 or 6% fought in the Revolutionary War. When America was being seized and taken from Great Britain, 95% of Americans was not bothered. They're living their day-to-day lives. Mrs. Mugg, I can tell that to Iran. Most people in Iran will not be involved in the war. They'll see some shit happen. Just like we're affected vicariously through war, our prices and things like that. I'm sure we felt some war that has some. I'm sure we've already been the victim of cyber warfare. Who's to say when Verizon gets shut down, that's not cyber warfare? Who's to say when your cable and the power grid gets shut down, who's to say that's not cyber warfare? You think they'd tell us if it was? Honestly. If the power grid getting shut down and all that stuff was a result of cyber warfare, do you think they tell us? When you see these mass shootings in schools and police, and who's to say that's not already part of a military operation? Do you think they tell us? I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just saying, who's to say a lot of the stuff that we've been experiencing to this point isn't a result of a type of warfare that we're not aware is happening right around us. Got the top down today. Got the top down today. Less than 10% of Americans fought in the Civil War. Most live their day-to-day lives not knowing what was going on. People living in Oklahoma, people living in Kansas, people living in all throughout Maine and Michigan. Major Civil War happening in Indiana, Kentucky. And 9 out of 10 people weren't affected in any kind of way. So pay attention to that, y'all. Pay attention to that. I ain't seen Alma Dixon Saturday up here in a minute. What's up, brother? What's up, Kenny Red? Salute to everybody in here. Look like getting talking about T.I. What's up, Andrea Jones? Tomorrow we're gonna be doing some readings tomorrow on Patreon about this. Oh, and Sunday, Music University's canceled Sunday. I got something to do. I gotta be somewhere Sunday. So Music University is canceled on Patreon. Go to bandpantry.org and also go to incensandashtrays.com. I got my music blog back up on incensandashtrays.com. Oh, you say you put yours out? Ha. Alright, gotta keep going. Incense and Ashtrays, my music blog is back up. I had a good review of Corey Henry's show this past Sunday and Charlie Burrell's show a couple nights ago, the Blue Note. Got some more blogs coming your way. I was supposed to be at the Blue Note tonight to go see BJ the Chicago Kid. Today snuck up on me. It just snuck up on me. I would be there now to see BJ, but Friday snuck up on me. I realized it was like 8 o'clock. It was like, I'm supposed to be at the Blue Note tonight. I'll go next week. Appreciate the post, humans. So now, let's talk about T.I. and 50. T.I. and 50. I'm getting a new respect for T.I. I really am. I've never paid too much attention to him because his music doesn't float my boat, but he has more than enough people who love his music for me to be critical of it. He's obviously dope at what he does because of the effect that he's had, but I always had an issue with him being crowned the king of the South, he never knocked Big and Dre's crown off their head, if you ask me. Big and Dre never got to release another song. They're always going to be the kings of the South, of Atlanta. King of the South probably going to be Scarface because he really established the Southern sound. Scarface, in my opinion. But this thing right here with T.I. and his children and his boys, he's using his boys. Well, now he's using his boys. His boys are stepping up, his adult children, stepping up to defend their mama. Quick recap for those who don't know what's going on. 50 Cent and T.I. are in a little beef. Like, that's what happens in rap music. They cause beef. And, whoever, I can't even blame who's behind the scenes because 50's always, when it comes to 50, he, if as powerful as he is, as rich as he is, if he's being controlled by somebody behind the scenes, I don't respect it. So I'm not gonna give him the excuse of behind the scenes, although behind the scenes is what causes a lot of these beefs. When you're as old as 50 Cent, I can't blame anyone behind the scenes. I gotta blame you. He's been beefing with everyone, going at it with Jim Jones, going at it with, everybody. And just last week, 50 Cent looked like king of the internet petty, king of the internet troll game, because he had the videos of Jim Jones being locked out of his studio and yada, yada, yada. So he turned his attention to T.I. T.I.'s been trying to battle him in rap. And I covered this on a previous broadcast earlier this week. Go watch my broadcast from like 3 or 4 days ago. You can hear more of the history of how this all got started. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the history of how it got started. What I will say is Tip dropped a couple tracks that was fire, and his sons. Man, this motherfucker dropped a song called Miss Jackson today, where he rapping about 50's mom. King when I found an old picture of 50 Cent holding a big ass black dildo, King found a picture of 50's mom, a childhood picture of 50. And I'm not a big fan of people's mamas getting part into it, although I'm known to say a few your mama jokes. I'm not, all that into people's, when it comes to a beef, keep it between the two people, don't bring the family into it. But 50 brought the family into it. He posted a picture of T.I.'s wife, Tiny, who's from the legendary singing group Escape. And although Tiny's a public figure, Tiny minds her own business. And this perpetuates a trend that we see from 50 Cent, to where he attacks women when he is the focus point of problems. King put up the old video of 50 basically knocking out 3 women, trampling 3 women to get somewhere else and doing. That was bad, He's known for bringing family, and he's also known for not raising his kids. He has that one kid that any chance he gets comes at him, and his other kid was for the most part being raised by Puffy, because the mother of his child that he loved so dearly got smutted out by Puffy. So 50 does not have a good relationship with women, and Marcus did a great job pointing that. Not Marcus, other son, the song Miss Jackson. He did a good job breaking that down. T.I. broke that down to his. Tip broke that down to his diss track. 50's issue with women. He seems to have this reoccurring, revolving issue with women. So when you see him holding up these photos of big black dicks, it makes you wonder, 50 tends to go hard on black people and tends to sort of tiptoe around massa. And Tip is doing a great job pointing that out. He did a great job pointing that out. Yeah. 50's always giving homo thug vibes to me. 50, like, you know when I got the strongest homo thug vibes from 50? Was him and when 50 and Floyd Mayweather was going at it. Y'all remember that? Floyd, one of my all-time favorite fighters, but my personal feeling is when I saw 50 and Floyd going at it, they was going at it like two men who was fucking. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that they gay. I don't know. I wasn't there. But the energy between Floyd and 50 when they was going at it, when that whole thing broke up that they had going together, it wasn't really a manly beef in my opinion. It wasn't like two dudes like, man, fuck you, I'll beat your ass. It was very sissified, if I could use that word. Make sure you hit the like button. Hit the like button. It was just weird that Floyd Mayweather 50 Cent beef. And I just remember saying it like, these niggas got the energy that, man, it's like, niggas, these niggas, because usually, you know, when a man and a woman go at it, you can sort of tell if there's like sexual tension. Yeah, Stuns. A lover's spat, lover's quarrel. That beef between 50 and Floyd Mayweather, it reeked of sexual tension. But I'm a big Floyd Mayweather fan in the boxing ring and everything, so I'm not here trying to disparage the man's name. I'm not a 50 fan, but I don't want to disparage his name either. I don't know. I don't know. I never smelled any dookie sheets in my life, but their spat was weird. It was weird. I think Rick Ross, you know, I love watching Rick Ross and 50 go at it because like Rick Ross is 50's kryptonite. 50 can't try, like 50 gave, and I was on 50's side because I don't like the fake. I never liked Rick Ross, although I do like Rose's music. God Forgives, I Don't was one of my favorite albums. When 16 Ain't Enough, that song with Rick Ross and 3016, that's one of the best songs ever. I love that song. The song that he did on Blessed with Kanye West and all that album, I forgot the name of the other song. Born Again, I love that. Will 50 make good vibe music? I mean, Rick Ross made good vibe music, but I never liked a dude who named himself after somebody else who's living. Never respected Rick Ross because of his name and the persona. And I wanted 50 Cent to take him out, but he couldn't because he was clowning the shit out of 50. But Andrea, like two women scrapping. I'm going to tell y'all this story I heard. Artist Life, my people who've been here for a long time, y'all probably heard the story, so bear with me. Mods, bear with me. I'm pretty sure some of y'all heard the song, so bear with me. Yeah. For those who've heard the story, but I told the story when Diddy first got arrested. One of my homeboys, I won't say homeboys, but a musician that I know, I put it like that, because this dude don't kick it, but you know me, I'm in the music world too. I'm in that circle. And one of my friends who's a really, really good guitarist, he was invited out. He was working with an artist that Diddy was working with. And this guitarist and that artist was invited out to Diddy's house out in Star Island in Miami. This story goes back to like 2015, 16, back when Rick Ross was still hella fat. The flabby Rick Ross days before he got on Ozempic. He said that when he got to the house, Rick Ross answered the door in a bathrobe with nothing on under at Puffy's house. They're going to Puffy's house. And he said, Rick Ross, this is the story I heard years ago. He said, Rick Ross answered the door with nothing on under a robe. And Puffy was in the house too. And he was like, man, like them niggas was sweating. And I was like, hold on, he was at Puffy's house in the robe on with nothing else on? I ain't never gonna be around no other man with my balls dangling under a robe. I'm always gonna have drawers on if a man is anywhere around me. Yes, World War III is going on, and I'm talking about rappers, and your stupid ass is in here listening. So shut the fuck up and listen, or go watch CNN, bitch. Now back to what we talking about. We black Americans, we ain't in control of what's going on. They can have World War III, 5, 10, 15, 20. Fuck we gonna do? It's time for black folks to get our shit together. And we ain't got time. We ain't ready for that. Them white folks want to bomb white folks. That's what we're gonna do. That's what they gonna do. What we gonna do? Ooh, look what's going on in Iran. Ooh, Lord, what's gonna happen? Jesus. You over here raising your stress levels over some shit you can't control. Fuck out of here. And if Iran sends a bomb and it wipes us out, then I'm gonna be fucking dead. What the fuck am I gonna worry about for? Fuck it, we all gotta go at some time, right? In the meantime, we got our own shit to be worried about, man. And I started, for those of you who were here in the beginning, I started off talking about Iran and Israel. That's how we started. What the fuck we gonna do about it? Nothing. I can read the same LA Times, CNN, Times of India, BBC, Al Jazeera as you. You talking about countries that hate niggas fighting countries that hate niggas. Backed by countries that hate niggas. Next story. So let's go on with this. Let's get back to it. But that was it. I said all I had to say about 50 and Rick Ross because that wasn't my story to tell. That was a story that I was told from somebody else. So I don't know. The only other part of that story was my boy who was there was like, he heard Diddy beating the shit out of Cassie that night. This was Cassie was still with him. Because this story, I remember hearing it when it happened. When Diddy beat up on Cassie, he called me on the phone. He's like, remember what I told you? I was like, yeah, you did say Diddy was beating the shit out of that girl. So that made me, even though I knew he had no reason to lie about the Rick Ross part, it made the Rick Ross part even more true in my mind because it was like, damn, I remember you called him because the original conversation was about, he told me, he was like, I told you she keep doing that to Cassie. I was like, shit. But yeah, so I think a lot of them dudes is gay. Honestly, like I'm not to be on some, me. I'm not gonna be sitting here focusing in on that. They could be gay all they want. I don't have any issues with people being gay as long as they don't force it on me. And I've never been disrespected by a gay person, and I've never had a gay person approach me to force nothing on me. So I don't have any bad blood because I don't have any bad experiences. People are gay, they gay for the most part. And I've been around Hollywood since I was 21, not in the industry, but more so as someone at parties and knows people, but not working. I haven't had that dynamic, and I think a lot of that has to do with because I haven't been, maybe because I haven't been working. I don't know. I'm just know the right people to be in the right spots at the right times, and we know the right time to leave. So I don't have those experiences, although I've heard of people who do, and I know people who've had those experiences. Thank God it hasn't been me. But in my observations, a lot of these dudes is closeted homos. I'm telling y'all right now, a lot of these dudes is closeted. I was at a Grammy party, and I'm not gonna say the artist's name. I was at a Grammy party a couple weeks ago, and I saw one of my favorite musicians, somebody I watch all the time. I've been going to see these cast shows when they come to LA. I've been going to see them live when they come to LA for about a decade now. One of my favorite musicians. When I met him and he shook my hand, he didn't feel right. Fellas, y'all know this handshake? The and then he gave me the soup noodle handshake, and then like it was like he wasn't being flirted nothing, but like, man, that hand's in my hand, thinking, man, that handshake gave the motherfucker. And I'm at the Grammy party with the homegirl. I look over to the homegirl, I'm like, is that nigga gay? She was like, and I was like, man, I'm still gonna listen to Bruh's music, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna not listen to Bruh's music because but you know, you see people. I've been going to see this cat perform for years, and on the closest I had ever gotten to him was from where I am to the stage, and he always, you know, good music. But that handshake, though, oh, I had to wash my hand. Oh, man, if we shake hands and it's going to be a tight grip. And if we shake hands and the grip don't catch, we got to replay that handshake until the grip do catch. You don't shake a man's hand like this. No, I'm not gonna bust him out. I'm not even gonna hint as to who it was, because you know, in that world, like I do a lot of writing. I have a music foundation. I'm in that world, like I'm for real in that world, and I respect people for their choices, and when they're in that world, they feel that they can let their hair down proverbially, and as they should be able to. The dude didn't flirt with me. Like I didn't feel a flirt. I just felt that he wasn't around fans. He was around other people, so he just was relaxed. That's how I felt. Like if I felt like that dude was flirting and being disrespectful, then yeah, I may say something. But he wasn't being flirty. He wasn't being disrespectful. I just think that he was in an environment around a whole bunch of other Grammy Award winners, and he just felt that he could relax. That's how I felt, you know. Oh, I definitely washed my hands. But I don't mind people being relaxed. I don't mind people being who they are, you know what I mean? And in the music world, it's a lot of cis-ass activities going on. That's just what it is. Shut up, Larry Smith. You a fool. Yeah, so it's just like, you know what? And they're gonna be. I seen them on. It's like a bunch of jazz festivals in LA this coming summer, and the Hollywood Bowl and stuff. They're gonna be. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be performing in LA this summer, and if I see their name on the playbill at the Hollywood Bowl or somewhere, I'll be there because they make good music. What the fuck about them being gay? Bro, make good music, so I'm still gonna go to the show. I ain't, you know. Now I'm not going backstage after the show. Good show. But fine, great show. You really hit that note. Yeah, I ain't going backstage for that show. Yeah, I go backstage at the shows sometimes, but I ain't going back. I went to go see Charlie Burrell the other night at Blue Note. That was a fun show. And one thing I like about jazz, like musicians, my wife knows because my wife's always with me. When I'm out, even though y'all never see her on camera, my wife is with me 95% of the time that I'm out. She be right there. And my wife was with me. We had Charlie's backstage, and she was like, because she goes backstage with me a lot. And she was like, yo, this was at least, it was a bunch of real women backstage tonight. Because oftentimes backstage, that's where all the people, the groupies are, the women who got all kind of crazy pounds of makeup on and shit, you know. But when I was at Charlie Burrell show this past Wednesday, it was real ass down home regular folks backstage. That was fun. Yeah, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Nah, Blue Note LA, the new Blue Note. Yeah, like I didn't mind Luther Vandross being gay. Like shit, man, that's some great ass fucking music. We all knew he was cis-fied, but that's alright. Say you gonna be, are you gonna be? Say you gonna be, are you gonna be? Nigga, that's all I care about. Luther be gay all you want. All I want to hear is with me. You fuck about none of that other shit. But back to T.I. and 50, I kind of went off on the path, but I get from afar. I've never been. I'm talking about. I've seen 50 at a couple parties, but I've never hung out with him. We've never shaken hands. We've never had a conversation. But I used to be a partier in my day, so I've been around 50, and but. And it would be like album release type stuff or comedy club stuff. Just, I don't know 50. I've only walked past him a couple times as far as I'll go. But about the same with T.I. I've had more interactions. I've talked to T.I. like, hi, but I've never had a conversation with T.I. But I've been in the same environment as T.I. a hell of a lot more than I have 50. Going back to when he first came out, when he would come to L.A. Whenever T.I. would come to L.A., because you go to the hottest clubs at those years when he was new. Those are my main club years. And I was going to be out 6-7 nights a week. So if T.I. was in L.A., it was a 90% chance if he was at a party, I was going to be at that party too. So I said that to say I didn't get the little I've been around 50. I didn't get no cis vibes. And I definitely ain't got that from T.I. T.I., everything about T.I., is he projects. He's a short dude, but he projects straight, solid dude, But when I see how 50 gets down online and his relationship with women, you know, and then the whole Floyd Mayweather thing, that was cis ass vibes. That's all I'm gonna say. And I haven't seen the same sort of energy being put out by Tip. You're right, Artist Life been playing. He said he been playing T.I. all day, yeah. If you ask for my thoughts on Iran, rewind to the first 5 minutes of the show. You dig? Kenny Ray, you a fool. So, yeah, bad karma to make you living on other people's misfortune. I'm with you right there, Luis. That's bad karma. It really is, I think, bad karma to live your life on other people's misfortune because, and here's the reason why, like, again, going back to how we talked about earlier when we talked about Bohemian Grove, positive and negative, they both exist. We can choose to live on the negative vibration. We could choose the negative path. And you see, the negative path has been, for 50, it's been the path of fortune. 50's fortune was built off the negative path. Negative music, negative movies, get rich or die trying. That dropped when I was like 22, 23. I was in college when Get Rich or Die Trying dropped. And I never went to go see it. Heard the music. That one was, I saw it when it happened. I saw it. I felt it. I was like, this 50 dude. I never forget. I had this coworker. I worked at Washington Mutual Bank on Manchester and Locust and Inglewood. And I was always hella cool with the security guards. I was a loan officer at the time and the business banking manager. And the security guard was a Mexican dude named Henry who just moved back to America from living 15 years in England. So Henry was he was an interesting guy. I always wondered whatever happened to Henry. He was a Mexican that was raised in Los Angeles, but when he turned like 20, he moved to England to marry this lady, and they got divorced when they were like 32, and he moved back to America. So Henry was a very interesting guy to me. And I'll never forget when 50 Cent dropped, Henry was like, because he's a Mexican with a British accent. It was funny. He was like, so Dwann, what do you think about this $50 guy? It's like, $50? You know, he was joking, of course. He's like, no, 50 Cent, the $50 guy. And I would always laugh because you don't expect a British accent from a Mexican. And I was just like, I remember telling Henry then, I was like, I don't know. You know, the music, because I'm in a club, and the club was just, man, if you was in a club when In the Club dropped, I think in the club, I don't go to the clubs anymore. Well, I tell you, I go to some parties, but when I go, In the Club still plays. And like when I go to parties, it's in the 10, 11 o'clock time. You're going to still hear In the Club. But mid 2000s, If we're in the club drop, you couldn't not hear it. You could not go a night without hearing it. And in those years, I would sometimes go to 2 or 3 clubs a night. So sometimes I hear that song 2 or 3 times a night. But his first album, Into Get Rich or Die Try, I felt something wasn't right. I felt it then. I like, yeah, nah. Just the message, get rich or die trying. So how if I gotta die trying, what do I gotta do to get rich? Do you know what that implants in your mind? That the price of wealth is death? That's what you're saying when you say get rich or die trying. Look, you mean wealth is gonna cost me death? So I knew in my early 20s, I don't want that. I don't want that. I mean, when the next Friday movie coming out? I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. Yeah, Fly Gemini, that shit did look sus. But 50 has used the negative vibration for wealth, and it worked. That goes back to what we talk about. Positive, negatives are just states of being. We can choose. We have choice. That's what free will is. That's why when I read cards, when I read your cards, I can see it. Being a card reader has gotten me a lot more understanding of people's problems and traumas, and a lot less judgmental, because when you read somebody's cards and you see them struggling, and I go ahead and read the negative vibration of your number, I can see exactly why you're struggling, because within your personality type, these are the things. And sometimes the struggle comes from being too positive, the positive stuff. Sometimes you're too generous, you're too giving of your time, you give too much money. So that leaves you at a deficit, that leaves you sick, that leaves you, and are y'all getting it? Sometimes it's positive to say, no, I'll do that for free. I'll come do it. Then what happens? You run across people who abuse that, and it becomes a net negative. You got some of the most talented people working for free because they just want to get the job done, or for the smallest amount, and they're hurting. My Cardology website is, you book at breakthroughcards.com. It's all in the description. Breakthroughcards.com. That's where you book a reading. As a matter of fact, I got a reading in the morning. I do. I know. I don't be even telling you. I do relationship counseling too through that. I got a client that I'll be seeing tomorrow. I've had my longest running client now has been with me for 3 years. I just see them like quarterly. But for the most part, my Williams, I appreciate the Cash App. For the most part, my relationship counseling is about a 3-4 month program, and then quarterly check-ins if necessary. If your relationship card is a 7, a 9, a Jack, a 10, you definitely want quarterly check-ins. If it's a 4, you probably won't need it. Yeah, giving from empty cups ain't gonna help you out. You gotta fill your cup. So positive and negatives are just states of being, and they're okay. It depends on what you're using them for. You can't be all honky-dory around a whole bunch of vultures. If you're around a bunch of vultures, maybe you got to get low. When they get low, you got to get lower. But you also don't want to be that get low coming nigga in a relaxed environment where people are trying to have a good time, just be positive. It's relative when you go through the positive and the negative. And 50 Cent has been a master at. 50 Cent he's a master teacher at elevating through chaos. But 50 Cent is also a 9 card. I think it's a 9 of diamonds. 50 Cent's a 9 of diamonds. It's a chaos agent. But who else is a 9 of diamonds and the chaos agent? Kanye West. Who else is a 9 of diamonds and can cause a lot of chaos? Cat Williams. That 9 of diamonds card, boy. Them some chaos raising motherfuckers. But Kevin Hart's also a 9 of diamonds, but he's a positive side of a 9 of diamonds. He uses chaos to make people laugh. His comedy is it's a positive spin on chaos. Dame Dash. Dame Dash is a 3 of spades. That's another chaos card. 3 of spades. All in 3s. The rebel rousers in the cards are 3s, 7s. 5s are sneaky because they duplicitous. A 5 raises chaos through duplicity. A 3 raises chaos through needling, could be a constant pest. A 7 raises chaos through manipulation. A 9 raises chaos through war. They'll use all of it. They'll use any tactic they can get. A Jack raises chaos through deception. What's up, Earl? Somebody said they're confused. I just jumped into my card talk, that's all. Jumped into the card talk. Only put type people on timeout if they trolling. If they just got a question, don't trip. If you got 11 life path, that's a very complicated. That's a very, very, a lot of pitfalls in the 11 life path. Also grand rewards too. For those of you who confused, I'm just talking about the discipline of cardology, reading playing cards, the same cards that you play poker and blackjack with. That's all we're talking about. Similar to tarot, but different. Predates tarot, but similar. If you want to say tarot, that's fine. I don't read tarot cards. I don't know what a cup is and all that shit. I read the 52 playing card deck. It's a calendar for those of you who don't know. Four suites for the 4 seasons of the year. 13 weeks in each season. 13 cards in each suite. Ace to kings. The 4 elements of life: earth, diamonds, air, spades. Air is clubs, spades, water, hearts, fire. There's also red pips, positive, black pips, negative, red feminine, black masculine. All that stuff on those cards means something. But to everybody else, it's just a game. That's the beauty about cards. Y'all be playing poker all day, and you wonder why the house is winning. Because the cards are a science. They ensure the house is going to win. And those of us who understand the science understand how to read the situation. To everyone else, it's just a game. But if that's a little bit too mystical for you, that's fine, you know. It would have been too mystical for me too 10, 15 years ago. Not 10 years ago, but about 15 years ago, it would have been a little bit too mystical for me. So, yeah, that new Luther documentary was good. It was. So, but back to T.I. And 50. I just love to see T.I.'s family, you know, him use his family. Like, the mother was attacked, and to see his sons respond the way they did, using talent, not ignorance, you know, they kept it art. I gotta give Tip an A+ as a father based on this reaction. I gotta give him an A+. Because people are like, me and my wife were talking about it earlier. She was talking about, brother, if you want to look at the news, turn to the fucking news. Mods, time that motherfucker out for 300 seconds. So, but back to T.I. Back to T.I. Yeah, his sons, like, me and my wife were talking about, you know, he had that show with his family. And I was just saying, like, personally, that show didn't factor in my opinion on him. Well, I never thought about him as a father, positive or negative. But usually when people have TV shows where people act. And I don't believe what I see on TV at all. Even if every image of them being positive was on that TV show, I still wouldn't have believed it. Because I just don't believe TV. That's not me. That's not anything to do with T.I. That's just with anybody. If I don't believe nothing I see on TV. But when you see the way King first responded, you can tell that young man was hurt. But for him to turn that pain into art, that's great parenting, man. Kept it in the family business. Your mom and dad are artists. Pretty sure they're going to produce artists. And artists come on different levels. Some paint, some draw, some sing,